Hi, it's Lori from LoriStory.com. Welcome to another Cricut tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to make this fun 4-step card using a Lori Whitlock 4-step card base and also a sentiment from Colette Hall, which is also available at LoriWhitlock.com. I will have both of the files linked in the description below this video. Okay, we're going to need a few things for this card. Let's start by going to LoriWhitlock.com and downloading this 4-step card with front flap. I'll have a link to this in the video description. And then also on Lori Whitlock's shop, there is this file. You can use this if you want for the front of the card. That's what I used. It's by Colette Hall. Go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Live the life that you imagined. I thought that was perfect for a graduate. So once you've downloaded those, I recommend you just put them on your desktop while you're working with it, and then you can file them away later. Let's go into Insert Images. We're going to click on Cartridges, and then we're going to type in Basic. That will bring us to this Basic Shapes. Let's click on that. We need the circle, we need the triangle, and we need the square. We're going to go back to Cartridges. We're going to put in When I Was a Kid. We're going to look for that cartridge. They're alphabetical, so let's scroll down here. And it's this one right here. And we're looking for a banner. It's this one here in the second row for me. It's item M37EOF. And there's lots of banners on the Cricut cartridges. You can use any of them you want, but this is the one I used. And we're going to hit Insert Images. All right, first thing we're going to do is make these a little bit smaller and move them out of our way. I'm just going to set them over here. Doesn't matter what size you're making them for right now. Perfect. Okay, now we need to go get those SVG files that we downloaded from LoriWhitlock.com. So let's go to Upload Images. I've downloaded them to my desktop, so I'm going to go to Upload Vector. Browse. This is my desktop. The first one is the Colette Hall one. Open. You can tag it if you want. Hit Save. You're going to see I have it a couple times because I was doing a dry run here. Wanted to make sure everything worked. And let's go grab another one. Upload image. Browse. And the Lori Whitlock 4-step card. That looks great. Tag it if you want and hit Save. Okay, for now I'm going to leave the Colette Hall one right here in my upload bin. And I'm just going to grab this one just so that I have more room on my desktop. Okay, when you bring in a Lori Whitlock file, it comes in all grouped together. You have your card base, the accessory pieces, and the score lines, and it's all grouped as one. Design Space doesn't know that you want those score lines right there on that card base. So the first thing we have to do is address that. So in order to do that, we're going to click on the file and ungroup. Now if you were using a score tool, at this point you would grab those score lines, which is this layer right here. And if you're not sure, you can turn the eyeball off and on to make sure that that is the score lines. But if you wanted to use the score tool, you would click on the scissors and change it to score. I'm not going to do that with this card. For this particular card, I found it works best to let the Cricut go ahead and cut those score lines, to cut the dash lines. These folds need to be really crisp and really sharp to make this card go together correctly. So for this particular card, I'm not going to change that to score. I'm going to leave it to cut. But what we do need to do is attach those score lines to the card base. So we're going to select the card base and those score lines, both, and then we're going to attach. The bottom part of the file here are the pieces that go on the top. So let's select the card base, arrange, move to back. Okay, for my card, I made this card base black. The first thing I'm going to do is select this piece, and I'm going to hit duplicate. Now, I'm going to look in the edit panel. And this isn't going to be a true shadow, but it's the closest I can get for what I want to do. So it's 3.99 by 5.24. I am going to change this to 3.88. That's going to make that one just a little bit smaller. So I'm going to set this one up here. And in my card, this is going to be gold. So I'm going to find it in the layers panel, and I'm going to change this to gold. Then I'm going to select on this one that I made just a little bit smaller, and I'm going to find it over here in the layers panel, and I'm going to change this to white. That one's going to set just like that. And again, this isn't a true shadow, but it's the best I can do to get some gold to show. All right, I'm going to grab this one, going to duplicate it, going to look at it in the edit panel, and the width is 2.79, so I'm going to change it to 2.69. I'm going to find it in the layers panel, change it to white. I'm going to grab the back one, the larger one, and I'm going to find that in the layers panel. And I'm going to change that one to the gold. Set that up here. This one's going to set slightly offset. And again, this isn't a perfect shadow. What my plan is to line up the straight corners right here, and then the gold's going to show through a little bit. On this one, it looks like it's a little short, so I'm going to pull that down a little bit. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now this card is set for this piece to go right there. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use that as the front of the card. This piece goes right here, and it's actually already the gold color, which works out perfectly for me, but if it doesn't for you, go ahead and change it. All right, that looks good. Now for this part of the card, my card base is actually going to be black, and now that I have everything in place and I can see where everything goes, I can go ahead and change that card base to black. All right, so that's kind of how my card's starting to look. I'm going to grab this first triangle, and I'm going to unlock Keep Proportions, and I'm going to drag this down and a little bit wider. Then I'm going to lock it back up, and I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to hold my Shift key using this icon. I'm going to rotate it 180 degrees. That looks pretty good. Now I'm going to duplicate it. Set that one aside. This one I'm going to change to gold. So I'm going to go over to the sync button, and I'm going to grab the first rectangle and pull it down to the gold layer. All right, so this is going to go right there. And now I have this one. I want to make this one just a little bit smaller. It's going to set right there. I'm going to click on it, click on the layers panel, and duplicate. I want this one to be gold, so I'm going to go back over to my sync layer, and when you create a new shape, it's always the very first one in your color selection over here. So I'm going to select the very first triangle, and I'm going to pull that down to gold, and that one's going to go right here. And I want to make that a little bit smaller. You want to make sure the lock proportion is on so that your triangle stays symmetrical with the ones under it. And some people like to do 2 bands of color here, some just 1. I'm just doing 1 for now. That looks good to me. And now I'm going to duplicate that one. Over in the layers panel, duplicate this one. I'm going to find it over here where it's selected in the layers panel. It's this top one. I'm going to change this one to white. This is going to be the shirt layer. And I like to make this quite a bit smaller. Because you don't really see that much under a graduation gown. Maybe even smaller than that. That looks good. All right, now we come to the circle. I am going to take this circle, going to over in the edit panel, and I am going to change this to 0.15. It's going to be really small. And I am just going to go to the layers panel and duplicate that 2 more times. We're going to have 3 buttons that go on top of this. If you wanted, you could slice those out of here and put brads, which I probably will just use a hole punch and put brads, but there's your buttons if you want them. So we'll leave that right there. Okay, the next thing we have is the square. I'm going to duplicate that. We're going to need more of those. This is going to become our graduation cap. So we need to go to the edit panel, and I'm going to make this 1.5 inches square. All right, and now I'm going to go back to the layers panel. I'm going to peel this layers panel down because I use that a lot. And let's duplicate this square. So we'll go to the layers panel and change that second square, or that new square, to white. And I want to make this just slightly bigger. So I'm going to make this 1.6. All right, and then I'm going to click on the black one and I'm going to hit Arrange, Move to Front. And this is going to form our graduation cap. So we're going to move those 2 pieces over here. That's going to be our graduation cap. And we'll probably tilt that a little bit. Actually, I'm gonna move it down here just for a minute. Okay, so this is the banner that's going to set about like that. We want to make that a little bit smaller. And I'm going to cut these ends off. You can slice them off if you want, but I'll just use my scissors because I'm not exactly sure how long I want this. And I am going to unlock Keep Proportions and make this just a little bit taller, and then lock it back up. Okay, we want to find this over here in the layers panel. There it is. And you need to ungroup it, and then we're going to select the green layer. Ungroup, select the green layer, and let's change that to white. And we're going to type on here, add text. Congratulations. You can put whatever font you want. Just to keep it easy, I'm going to leave it in the font that it is, and I'm going to bring this way down. And I'm going to gear it towards the left because, again, I'm going to cut this edge off. And I can unlock Keep Proportions, and I can make this a little taller. A little wider. That looks good to me. I'm going to select the font and change it to black. I'm going to select both and flatten. And now this is a print and cut banner. And that's going to set just like that. I'm going to select this one, go to the sync button, pull that down to the gold, and that's going to set just like that. And again, I'm going to cut this edge off once I see how well it fits. Now our graduation cap is going to go, I'm going to kind of tilt it, and it's going to set up here somewhere. I'm going to select a hole, or put a hole in the center of this, and then make a tassel that's going to hang off of this. And I'm thinking it looks a little bit big, so I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. All right, we're getting close. Here is another piece. We need to take this square and unlock key proportions, and I'm just going to change this to kind of long and narrow, and this is going to be our diploma. We're going to roll this piece of paper up, lock it back up, and we're going to still need this or another rectangle, so I'm going to duplicate that for now and set that over here, and I'm going to change that to white. So we're going to roll that up. That's going to be the diploma, and we'll set that on there, about right there. Okay, so this leaves us with this panel here. We want to go to add text and type "you did it," and we're going to go over to the edit panel, and I want this right justified, and we're going to make that kind of big, and I'm going to change this font to Arial black. I'm going to find it in the layers panel and change it to black. Going to place it right here, and that might be a little bit too big. That's going to go just like that. So I'm going to select the font and the white panel by holding the Command key if you're on a Mac or the Control key if you're on a PC. I can select them both and flatten. And now that's a print and cut. Okay, so that is the inside of our card. For the outside of the card, I'm going to use this. I'm going to grab the rectangle, and in the layers panel, I'm going to change that to white. And now I need to go back to upload images. And I'm going to grab this other SVG by Colette Hall and hit insert image. Now when Colette makes these files, she gives you two different options, and you can use either one. I'm going to pull it down here where you can see what's going on, and I'm actually going to pull the layers panel up here so you can see more. She gives you two different styles. This one right here that I just turned off and on is just one layer. You can only, if you want to print this all in one color and you don't want to make any changes to any words or letters or change anything, she gives you that option. She has all of it put together in one layer right there. This one, each word, each item is on its own layer so that you can go in and make changes. You can change colors. So the first thing we need to do is decide which one we want to use, and you can use either one. So we're going to, while it's selected, ungroup. Now for what I'm doing, I want to change some colors just to add some interest to the front. So I'm going to turn off that one layered set, which is this one, or just select it and I'm going to delete it. Okay, now for this one, I want to change some of the words to the gold. So I'm going to go over to my sync panel, and I'm going to find the word go, and I'm going to pull that down to the gold layer. And I'm going to change dreams to gold. I'm going to pull that word down to the gold layer. And I'm going to change imagined to the gold layer. And you can do whatever you want. I think that's all I'm going to do. So now I'm going to select everything. I'm going to go to the layers panel and I'm going to group that back together. I don't want it to move separately. And it's going to fit on the front of my card. So I'm going to take this triangle or rectangle. I'm going to unlock Keep Proportions, and I'm just going to kind of size this to the size I want the sentiment to be. And that looks pretty good. Okay, now I'm going to select this and I'm going to pull it down and kind of see if that fits. And you can do this as big or as small as you want. I think I'm actually going to go a little bit smaller for the front and make this a little bit smaller. Center that up a little bit. I'm going to pull this away just to give me a better sense of whether it's centered. That looks great. I'm going to select both of those and I'm going to flatten. All right. Now I'm going to select my card base again and I'm going to duplicate it. And I am going to make this over in my layers panel black. And I'm going to center it and pull it down and kind of, well, let's move this out of the way. Arrange, move to back. And I just want to kind of size this to fit. Underneath that, we need to unlock Keep Proportion so that we can move it out of proportion. And that looks pretty good. So this is arrange, move to back. That's going to be the front of my card. And maybe I'll make this a little bit smaller by selecting both and moving that down. That looks good. Okay, I'm going to grab the card base one more time, duplicate, and again we're going to unlock Keep Proportions and we're going to scoot this way up. Just make a little stripe. We're going to select it over here in the layers panel and turn it black. That's going to set right there. Looks like I might have made it a little bit too short, so I'm just going to stretch that out and I will trim that down as I put the card together. And then I'm going to hit layers. And then I'm going back to the layers panel and I'm going to duplicate. So I'm going to make 2 stripes down here just to add a little something to the card. All right, one other thing I forgot about on the inside of the card, we need to add text. And we're going to type 2015. And again, you can use whatever font you want. It's still in Arial black for me, and that works. So I'm going to select off. And I'm just going to pull this over on top of one of those squares and pull all the letters at once. But I'm really just looking at the 2 and seeing how it fits in that square. And that looks pretty good. So I'm going to select it in the layers panel and hit black. And now I want to, while it's still selected, ungroup. And what that's going to allow me to do is put a letter or a number in each box. Okay, that's it. We have completed this card. This is going to go on the front. This is the inside of your card. I'm going to cut all this out. This will be a print and cut. This will be a print and cut. and I'll meet you in my craft room. It was a lot to take in. Don't forget you can stop the video, back up, rewind, and play it again. You can switch out the colors, do whatever you want, but don't let this intimidate you. It seems like a lot of steps, but it really is pretty simple. All right, I'm going to cut this out and meet you in the craft room. Okay, I'm just going to leave this on fast forward and assemble the card, and you can watch. I think it's pretty self-explanatory how it goes together, but I thought it might help to watch. So here's the completed card. I hope you enjoyed. I wanted to show you a few other ways I've used the same cut file from Lori Whitlock and Colette Hall to make a couple different cards, and then also a birthday card. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up. I apologize, this one's super long, but there was a lot to cover. Thanks again.